We finished passage 1 and passage 2 questions. Now we're moving on to the dual passage questions. This first one we're going to do is about the relationship between the passages. Even if there's no question specifically about the relationship between the passages, you still actually want to take a minute after you've read the passages, after you've done the single passage questions, and before you move on to the dual passage questions. You do want to take a minute to determine the relationship between the passages. So it's very simple. All you have to figure out is, okay, are these passages opposed to one another? Are they opposite? Are they similar? Do they both make the same argument? Are they on the same side, more or less? Or is there no real relationship? Are they talking about a topic, but they're not really talking to each other in any kind of way? They're just approaching a topic from two different directions, let's say. But you can't say that they're agreeing or disagreeing. Right? Very simple schema because, so number one, on a question like this, it's important to know the basic framework. But even if there aren't relationship questions, this relationship between the passage does come up in other dual passage questions. You need to know what one passage thinks versus what other passage thinks, and how those arguments relate to one another, because as you'll see, that's going to affect the answer that you come up with for the other dual passage questions. So thinking for a minute on the passages we just read, passage 1 was pro de-extinction technology, thought it was a great idea. Passage 2 didn't think it was a very good idea at all. So we can very simply, in this case, say that they're opposed to one another. So let's take a look at this. Passage 2 attacks a political decision that Passage 1 strongly advocates. So there is a sense in which Passage 2 is doing some attacking and Passage 1 is doing some advocating, but they're not talking about a political decision, they're talking about a technology. So we can get rid of A. Passage 2 urges caution regarding a technology that Passage 1 describes in favorable terms. Pretty good. Right? Passage 2 was saying, like, you hold off, this may not be a good idea. Passage 1 was saying it is a good idea, and they're talking about a technology. So that looks pretty good. Passage 2 expands on the results of a research study mentioned in Passage 1. This would be the choice if they were similar, or if they were building on one another, if they were making the same kind of argument, if they were on the same side, and that's not what we see here at all. And in fact, there's no even research study, I don't think, mentioned in 1 anyway. Passage 2 considers practical applications that could arise from a theory discussed in Passage 1. Passage 1 talks about a theory, I guess, but also goes through practical applications. Passage 2, I guess, talks about practical applications, but it's more talking about the problems of it. So again, D just doesn't fit, and our best answer is choice B. To learn more about Reason Prep's SAT, SAT subject test, and ACT video courses, go to reasonprep.com/enroll. And you can find the link in the description below the video.